So, I want to talk to you guys today about theta healing. Theta healing is a mind-body healing technique, and I like to think of it as a technique that puts everything together. So instead of separating your mind from your body, from your spirit, your emotion, is this emotional or physical, is this, we're all one. And it unifies the body and the mind and the spirit. We treat all three when we do theta healing. There's no way to not be treating the body, mind, and spirit all at once. So I really like that about theta healing. Another thing that it unifies is science and intuition, facts and feelings or creativity. There's a lot of science actually behind the art of theta healing, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about that later. I want to let you know about the very sort of basic building block of theta healing, and that is going into the theta brainwave. The theta brainwave is the brainwave that you go into in a really deep meditation. Some people feel like it takes a lot of work to reach that deep meditative state. Some people feel like it takes a lot of practice, a lot of time, months or years. They feel like maybe you have to sit for a long time, maybe 20 or 30 minutes to enter into that state. Maybe, but in theta healing, we do it really quickly. By the end of your first theta healing workshop, you're doing it almost instantaneously, within a few moments. You're going into that theta brainwave. Why? Because it's actually natural for us. To be in the theta brainwave is to be in alignment with the universe. And it feels remarkably good. It does a lot of good stuff for you. So now they're actually doing research on meditation. They're doing research on the basic building block of theta healing. And that's that we go into that theta brainwave, that deep meditation with this quick little visualization that we have. And what they're proving now is that just that very act, that first part of theta healing, of going into the theta brainwave, reduces stress levels. It reduces anxiety. It even dials down inflammation in our bodies. So it's a good example of how our bodies and minds work together. By sitting there going into a meditative theta brainwave, you're decreasing inflammation in your body. That's important because inflammation is called the pathway of all disease. That's what's common to all disease, is too much inflammation in the body. So that's really important. Meditation or going into the theta brainwave also boosts your mood. It's actually recently been proven to boost your mood, to relieve depression, clinical depression, as well as cognitive behavioral therapy does. Pretty amazing to me that just going into this theta brainwave, actually in this research that they just did, does as much good for clinical depression as does CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Another thing it does that's really cool is increases your creativity. It does this by changing the neural pathways that you usually use, and we'll talk more about that in a little while. It also boosts your feeling of connectivity or connection to other people. So this would be great for your personal relationships, your family, also for your work relationships. If you can boost your sense of connection with your colleagues, with your employees, or with your boss at work, this is going to give you a better work environment. What else does going into the theta brainwave do? Let me look at my little notes. It increases resilience, and it decreases cortisol and adrenaline levels. That's part of decreasing the inflammation. It actually has been proven to decrease these levels of cortisol and adrenaline. Sometimes you want adrenaline, but not all the time, not like we have in our world today of what's going on and checking our cell phone and doing our work on our computer and, you know, being on our work phone at the same time as we're checking our texts. It's too much cortisol and adrenaline. So this is just the basic building block of theta healing. going into that theta brainwave. And actually, in a while, like the last thing we're going to do today on this little webinar is I'm going to let you know how to go into the theta brainwave really quickly. I'm just going to tell you what the basic theta meditation is that Vianna Stibel, the founder of the theta healing technique, has figured out is like a super easy and fast way to go into that deep theta brainwave. We do even more, though, than just go into the theta brainwave and just stay there. Even if you just did that, even if you just hung out and did your theta meditation every day or every couple of days, that would be really good for you. But we can do so much more with theta healing. With theta healing, we actually are reprogramming your subconscious beliefs. So really, our beliefs are creating our life. Let me give you an example to help you understand better. If a little girl, say, is abused when she's young by her dad, let's say she's physically abused, she may probably grow up and seek out relationships that are abusive because she wants to change the pattern. Her soul is saying, okay, that was really bad. I'm going to do it again and find a different ending this time, basically. Her beliefs, we would say as theta healers, her beliefs that she got as that little girl when she was being abused would be something like, I deserve to be abused. And whenever I love someone, they betray me. Or whenever I love someone, they hurt me. She would have all kinds of negative beliefs like that. When I have a client who comes in with these beliefs, I can help that client to change her beliefs. What we do in theta healing is connect with that energy of all that is, the creator, source, the universe, whatever you want to call that energy. And we ask, what's going on with this person? What beliefs does she have that need to be changed? And we pinpoint what those beliefs are. And then with our technique, we change those beliefs at all four, what we call 4 belief levels. So there's the core level, which would include those beliefs that that client got in her childhood. Genetic level, beliefs that were passed down to her from her parents, grandparents on back. We're going to talk more about that in a minute too. The history level, which is past lives, and then the soul level, the deepest level, what she came in with that her soul is trying to learn. So how do we change beliefs? This is the big question. We can change beliefs. We can also ask for and witness physical healings with the theta healing technique. It's beautiful, and we have witnessed so many healings here at Theta Healing NYC of many different, relationship issues, autoimmune issues, chronic pain issues, depression and anxiety, so many things. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the science behind that, because that's what most people want to know. Some people are just like, really, you can do that? Great, let's go. Teach me how to do it, or do it on me, you know? Other people want to know more. I'm actually one of those people that wants to know more, so I understand it, and I don't mind when people ask a lot of questions and really even have a lot of disbelief at first, because why should you believe me? You should test it out for yourself. You should learn more about it. So, theta healing is actually based on a couple of different and newer areas of science. One is quantum physics. It's not really that new anymore. And the other is epigenetics. Even that isn't brand new anymore. It's probably like 20 years old now, but in science that's a little bit new. Quantum physics is the study of subatomic matter. So, you know, people used to think they had it figured out in the early 1900s. They thought that, yeah, we've got this now, you know. We understand how matter behaves. We understand how disease starts. We understand cause and effect. But then they pretty much discovered a whole new universe, and that's the subatomic universe. And they discovered that subatomic particles do not act the way that larger particles act. And scientists discovered, much to their surprise, and they keep retesting this, by the way, they discovered that observation affects subatomic particles measurably. So they kept thinking that they had it wrong because that doesn't make sense. But they really had it right. It's actually true that subatomic particles are measurably affected by whether or not someone is observing the subatomic particles. They call it the observer effect. So why would this matter to us as theta healers? This matters because what we're doing as theta healers is asking for change. We're asking the universe for change. This person needs to be free of depression. This person needs to be free of thyroid disease, whatever it is. And then we're observing the change come in. What do I mean by that, come in? I'm talking about actually the quantum field. So, you know, we're not really like just beings made up of teeny tiny particles of matter. That's what people used to think. That's kind of Newtonian thinking. But with quantum physics, they've discovered that we're not so much just masses of matter as matrices of possibility or probability. We are part of the quantum field. So the quantum field is the understanding. It's I want to say the quantum field is a place, but it's not. It's not really a place. It's an understanding of the fact that we are all beings who exist in many different forms and who are changing and who are choosing one moment to the next how we are going to be in this, what we call reality, in the third dimensional, the three-dimensional reality. In Theta Healing, we call it in the third plane. So really, each little tiny atom of our being has its own intelligence and is able to decide from one moment to the next how it will appear, how it will be. This is what we're doing as theta healers, is we're realizing that in that fraction of a moment when we're deciding who we are and how we're going to be and how we're going to interact with all the rest of the universe, that's where we can affect the change. We can decide, we can help a client to decide to appear as a different form of ourselves. That sounds a little crazy, but it's not. If we had a belief, say, I deserve abuse, we can change at that quantum level that belief so that our client knows they don't deserve abuse, they deserve love. We can change in the same way a physical issue. If a client has pain in their lower back, we can ask that that pain in their lower back is changed. There's another principle in quantum physics called unitive consciousness. Unitive consciousness is such a spiritual thing, actually. This is another way in which spirit and science intersect. Unitive consciousness means that really we are all one. It's not me over here and someone else over there. We are all part of this matrix of energy. There is a quote that I like to share with my classes that a physicist, Erwin Schrödinger said. Let me see if I can find it. Erwin Schrödinger. He said that Consciousness is a singular for which there is no plural. I think that's so beautiful. Consciousness, so how we understand that we are here, is a singular, so we're all one, for which there is no plural. It's not us and them. It's not me against you. It's not about polarity and Republicans against Democrats. It's about oneness. Consciousness is oneness. This gives us the alignment and the understanding to be able to affect each other, affect ourselves. It gives us the understanding to come into alignment with that universal energy that is the divine energy, and with our own bodies in complete health, and with other people. So with the observer effect, we are observing someone else's healing as theta healers. We can also do this to ourselves, by the way, so we can observe our own healing. With the unitive consciousness understanding, we're realizing that we are one. We are one not only with each other, but we are one with the creator of all that is. So we have the right to ask for a change and then to observe the change coming in. Another area of science that comes into theta healing, or that theta healing is based on, is the study of epigenetics, which is really cool. So the literal meaning of the word epigenetics means control above genes, control above the level of genetics. So we used to think basically that DNA was destiny, that if you were born a certain way, that's just the way that you are. Now we are realizing that it is not so much our DNA as our environment that determines how we feel, who we are, determines even our health. So at first that may sound unimportant or actually negative, but you quickly realize that you're less in control of your DNA, you were born that way, than of your environment. If you realize what I mean by your environment, I mean nutrition. What's the environment of your cells? Whatever you're putting into your body. What else is the environment of your cells? Whatever you are feeling. So in theta healing, we are understanding that our feelings and our beliefs are creating our reality, not the other way around. There are what this researcher, Candace Pert, who used to be a researcher, she's actually passed away now, but she used to be a researcher at the NIH, National Institute of Health. And she studied what she called molecules of emotion, neurotransmitters. From her work and others, we see that we don't just have feelings in our minds and our hearts. We actually have molecules of emotion going all throughout our bodies. Every one of our cells feels and remembers even. Every one of our cells is holding our beliefs for us, and we get to change our beliefs in every one of our cells. So how are we doing that in theta healing? Here's what we're actually doing when we do a healing in theta healing. We are changing the vibration of the receptors. So you have receptors all through your body. They used to kind of think of the nervous system being in your brain and maybe down through your spinal column and you know, out to your extremities. Now they have found that your receptors are on almost every cell in your body. And the receptors, you can think of them as little differently shaped little spaces where the neurotransmitters are either going by because it's not the right shaped space, or they're going into the cell because it is the right shaped space. So you can think of it as like if this is a receptor that's square and there's a little neuropeptide that comes along and it's square, it's going to let it in because they're both squares. If the neuropeptide is a triangle and this is a square, it's not going to let it in. It's going to go by. Neurotransmitters are things like serotonin, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. This is back to meditation. That's what we said. Meditation lowers the level of all those like stressy neurotransmitters, boosts the level of the happy neurotransmitters. So this is what we're doing in theta healing. We're changing the vibration of the receptors. When we change the vibration of the receptors all throughout the body, it changes the flow of the neuropeptides. Because they're not really little squares and triangles and circles, of course. They're just vibrating at different rates. So when you change the vibration of the receptors, the flow of the neuropeptides changes. What does this mean? This means that you will actually feel differently after you do theta healing. You don't have to try to do things differently because you will want to do things differently. You have to keep at it. You have to have the virtue of persistence and a little bit of faith too. But really, you just have to show up, because once you accept a download or a belief change in theta healing, you have changed the vibration of the receptors, which has changed the flow of the neurotransmitters, the neuropeptides, and those neuropeptides are the molecules of emotion. They're what makes you feel. So you will simply feel more calm and more peace. You will simply feel less anxiety, less depression. When you feel differently, you act differently. And when you act differently, you change your whole life. So it's also really cool. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the research that they have done about how permanent these changes are. So that's one of the main questions that people ask me about theta healing is, okay, I'm going to sit in that chair and you're going to make all these changes and I'm going to say, yes, you can change this, yes, you can change that. But that's not permanent, right? Like, what do I have to do when I go home? I want some homework, you know? It actually is permanent. So the research that they've done is really cool. There's a couple of different studies that they've done. One really simple one is that, and really kind of an elegant experiment, is that they took mice. They're always experimenting on mice because mice have a lot of different generations really quickly. So they took mice and exposed these poor little mice to an electric shock, a mild electric shock, at the same time as the scent of cherry blossoms. So cherry blossoms smell good, but every time they smelled cherry blossoms, these little mice also got a mild electric shock. The next generation of mice were afraid of the scent of cherry blossoms. They just inherited a belief. The scent of cherry blossoms wouldn't affect them negatively unless they had inherited the belief from their parents, their little mom and dad mouse, that cherry blossoms are dangerous. I always feel this weird shock when I smell cherry blossoms. Another study with mice showed that they took these mice that had a genetic, they had a genetic modification that caused them to have diabetes. So they had diabetes, and also, very conveniently, they were a different color. All the mice with diabetes were yellow, like yellowish, instead of brown, like the other mice. And they were also really obese, like almost twice as fat as the other mice. So they treated these mice with the genetic mutation of diabetes and the yellow fur and the obesity with diet and supplements. And they actually got rid of the diabetes. The next generation of mice, from the ones that had the supplements, it was a lot of B12 and some other things, they didn't have diabetes, and you can actually see that they are brown and regular mouse size instead of overweight and yellow. So they were able to change the physical characteristics of mice in one generation, which one would think is impossible. But what we change in ourselves is not only permanent, but it's passed down to the next generation. So that's really good news, because we can heal ourselves and then our children, and children's children will be better off, right? But also, you've got to remember that our generations before are deeply affecting us. So we know probably how much our parents are affecting us. We probably know even that, oh man, I sound just like my grandmother. I'm starting to look just like my grandmother, my grandfather. But even generations back, people that you've never met, their beliefs and their physical characteristics are affecting you. We can change this with Theta Healing. So I want to make sure you guys know how easy Theta Healing is. So I want to lead you really quickly into that Theta brainwave that does so much just all on its own. And then I'd like to give you guys a few little downloads. A download in Theta Healing is exactly like what it is on your computer. If your computer doesn't have a certain program, it's not a big deal. You just download it from the internet. Well, with your permission, and we do need your permission because you're creating your life. With your permission, you can download, you can receive these downloads from the universe to you. So like from the internet to you, just from the universe to you. All you have to do is, when I say, hey, do you want this download? You say, yes, I do, okay? Or just say the word yes. So first I'm going to lead you into the Theta brainwave. So if you could close your eyes and then just visualize going down into the earth and scooping up a ball of energy from the earth and allowing that ball of energy to rise up through the soles of your feet, through your legs, through each chakra of your body, kind of popping out your crown chakra. And then in your mind's eye, that ball of energy looks like a ball of light hovering a little ways above your head. And you can see what color that ball of light is. Maybe it's glowing gold or green or whatever color you want your ball of light to be. And then you just put yourself, your consciousness, into the ball of light and allow it to rise up, up and out, and up and out through the stars, so easily and quickly, up and out of our galaxy, up and out of our universe, up through different layers of light and dark, until you see off in the distance kind of a little window of sparkling white light. You slip right into that window. You find yourself in an ocean of effervescent white light. And you don't really feel your ball of energy anymore because you become one with that ocean of flowing, effervescent light. It's a place of unconditional love, of complete peace. This is where you're from, where you're always connected to, and it's where you can hang out. So you can hang out there as long as you want. You can go there for just a few seconds. You can go there for 5 minutes or an hour. While you're kind of hanging out there, I'm going to give you some downloads. So if you want these, you just say yes. So would you like to know that it's safe and possible, and what it feels like to receive love? And would you like to know what it feels like to give love? Would you like to know what it feels like to always be connected and to feel your connection with the creator of all that is, the universe, the source of all being? And would you like to know what it feels like and how to receive unconditional acceptance and unconditional approval from the universe, and from others, and from yourself? Would you like to know what joy feels like? Would you like to know what perfect health feels like and that it's possible? And would you like to know what it feels like that you get to create your own life? And would you like to know what success feels like? And that you get to create and experience success and abundance? And finally, would you like to know the highest and best definition of abundance? And would you like to understand the flow of abundance so that the more you receive, the more you give? So I want to remind you about how easy theta healing is. It's easy to go into the theta brainwave, and it's our birthright. It's easy to change your own beliefs and to change other people's beliefs as soon as you know how. You could do it the hard way. I call the hard way like real life, like suffering and going through all kinds of confusion and chaos. We do learn that way. But you can do it the easier way too. You could learn theta healing and change your beliefs and change your health and change your life. And then you could do that for other people as well. Whether you want to just do it for your loved ones, or if you want to really build a whole career around this and be a theta healer, or put this in your toolbox as another tool if you already are doing other forms of healing. There's a lot of really cool forms of healing out there. So the next basic theta healing class that we have here at ThetaHealing NYC is coming up June 10th, 11th, and 12th. It's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm teaching the class. I love teaching theta healing to brand new practitioners because it's so magical and because it gives them the tools that they need to transform their entire lives. So if you have any questions, or if you want to go ahead and register for this 3-day theta healing class, and it does certify you as a theta healer and is one of the prerequisites to our other theta healing classes, because there's a whole bunch that you could take and they're all just fascinating. But this is where you start with basic. So if you want to sign up for that Saturday, Sunday, Monday class, June 10th, 11th, and 12th, you can go to ThetaHealingNYC.com, or you can email info@ThetaHealingNYC.com to register with any questions that you have. And you can also call 212-260-5727. I'm Tara Greenway, and I would so love to have you in this workshop, and would be so happy to answer any questions that you have beforehand as well. So thank you.